A lot of people nowadays are simply dressed up versions of the expectations handed to them. They grow up, they absorb everything around them, everything their parents, their teachers, their culture, all this that teach, all that, oh my god, I can't talk, everything that they are taught by those examples. And they build this shaky identity out of who they think they are supposed to be. But if they were for once honest with themselves, they would know that deep down, they've been avoiding, becoming who they really are. And when I say they, I mean you, I mean me, I mean everyone. Because it's very common nowadays, just because of the way the world is set up. Now, I'll be talking about Nietzsche a lot in this video, because of his concept that you are not yet who you are. He said it very clearly, become who you are. Not find, not pretend, but become. Because the self isn't a fixed thing waiting to be discovered. Instead, it's something that's forged, it's something that's built through pain and through choice and through concentration and contradiction. However, most people will now just settle for mimicry. They'll chase their careers, they'll chase opinions and lifestyles that were never truly theirs to begin with. And the saddest part about that is that they know. There's a quiet sense that they're betraying themselves, and it's telling themselves in their own mind. They'll laugh at several things that they don't find funny. They'll chase goals that'll leave them hollow internally. And they'll keep telling themselves, one day I will figure it out. But that day will never arrive, because they are waiting for a version of themselves to appear without doing any of the work to create it. It's a bit stupid, right? Now, Friedrich Nietzsche didn't buy into that comfort. Instead, he didn't believe that truth was convenient or painless. He believed that to become truly who you are, you had to tear away from what was safe, and you had to tear away from what was familiar. You had to destroy that illusion that someone else's blueprint would ever fit your soul. And of course, he knew it would be lonely. He wasn't peddling off fucking stupid self-help. Instead, he was pointing to the abyss and simply saying, jump. Now, the process isn't a clean-shaven process, It's not some shining moment of clarity where you wake up and know exactly who you're meant to be. Instead, it's more like standing in front of a mirror, recognizing all the parts of yourself that were borrowed and all of the parts which weren't, and having the courage to throw them away, the parts that were borrowed, even if it means being lost for a while. It could be a short while, it could be for ages, but it's worth it in the end. Now, Friedrich Nietzsche called this self-overcoming. He called this the idea that the real you isn't something that you arrive at by reading more books or hearing more advice or watching my videos. No, I'm kidding, of course my videos are the best. No, but by shedding or stripping away the old you and burning down the false idols that you've built inside your mind. The nice, the tidy identities and the labels and the scripts. That is not you. You should be able to overcome that. And you might think that you're evolving because you read something clever or, you changed your opinion. But if you're still acting from fear and you're still building a life that, keeps you safe and liked and validated and aligned with everyone's opinions, then you're not evolving. All you're doing is decorating the cage that you're stuck in. To become who you are, you have to go through the fire. You have to sit with yourself when there's no applause. You have to sit with yourself when there's no praise, just silence. You have to face that contradiction that you might be good at something that brings you absolutely no joy. Or maybe the path that excites you also terrifies you. And the twist that Nietzsche throws in here is that there is no guidebook. There's no clear instructions or a path to follow. All you have is your instincts, and you have to trust them. You have to become the kind of person that deserves their own trust. And that is where the will to power comes in. Not in some sort of fucking cartoonish way like domination or ego, but instead in the way that Friedrich Nietzsche meant it. As some sort of deep inner force to grow with, to rise beyond what you were yesterday. It's about turning suffering into transformation, turning limitations into challenges, and instead of avoiding discomfort, absorbing it and wrestling with it and walking out sharper and stronger. You will be tempted to quit along this path, you'll be tempted to settle for a watered down life that feels good enough. But that is the trap that most people are sold. A lot of these people don't crash. Instead, they slowly flatten. Their spark starts to fade away, and they'll start to call it maturity, and then they'll become stable, and they'll become agreeable and respectable. But what they don't become is themselves. Because to become yourself, you would have to take the road that guarantees nothing. You have to accept exile. People will never understand that. So many people will never understand that. You will lose connections, you will doubt every single step of the way, and yet if you continue moving with full conviction and you continue carrying everything and carving, that path in front of you, then you will emerge with something so real. You'll emerge with a self that was not borrowed, a life that was never inherited. And then there's this moment where you realize that absolutely no one's coming to rescue you. There is no mentor, there is no savior, there is no perfect sign that tells you what to do next. And that realization feels very brutal at first, but it's also very liberating. It feels amazing. Because if no one's coming, then you're free. What burdens are holding you back? You're not waiting for anyone's permission anymore. And Nietzsche didn't see that as some sort of tragedy. Instead, he saw that as a beginning. He saw that, as a clean break from the lies that you were fed. Once you accept the absurdity, once you accept the chaos and the aloneness, you stop performing and all you do is live. And no, it won't always feel profound. It won't always feel monumental. Some days it'll just feel like sitting in your room, being restless but unsure. That is still becoming. The goal isn't to arrive at some perfect version of yourself that has everything figured out. The goal is just to be in constant motion. It's to be in constant rebellion against the stagnation. It's to be in constant rebirth. Nietzsche said, live dangerously. He didn't say to live recklessly, but instead he said to live honestly. Expose to yourself what is real, even if it will shatter you and ruin you. Because the person who will come out on the other side once they're rebuilt and forged in that fire, they may be bloody, they may be confused, and they may be raw, but it's you. It's not a copy. It's not a product. It's you. So if you are feeling lost right now, I want to say that's good. I want to say that is the beginning of something new. That is the sign that you've stopped faking who you are. And now is where the harder part kicks in. Not numbing the discomfort, but instead listening to it, following it, and seeing where it points when when you stop trying to impress anyone. Sorry, I don't know why I said wrong way. Whatever. You are not yet who you are. And that isn't a criticism from me to you. That's a call in your own heart. The only question of mine is that, are you going to answer it? Are you going to answer who you are meant to be? Are you going to answer that call within your heart? Let me know, please, because I'm rooting for you. That's why I make these videos. I want you to succeed. Thank you.